Yeah, Michael. So when you talk about the Kenyan market, basically, yeah, because like for myself, the way like I see it,
Yeah.
when you build a solution for Kenya,
Yeah.
you build a solution for the now entire African continent. Yeah, because like we don't have enough data for our own selves. Like so many people still speak vernacular.
Yeah.
When you now go to sharks, you'll find people speaking like in their own mother tongue.
Yeah.
But the same people must be served with the same artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
And for myself, I think, to be honest,
Yeah.
like as much as we talk about solar,
Yeah.
we still now need to burn some fossil fuels, like for us to now get the data centers.
I don't think we need to burn fossil fuels to get the data centers. We just need efficient power, one distribution,
Yeah.
and do I call it power creation?
Yeah.
Yeah, let me call it power creation. I don't know the right term to use.
Yeah.
Because you see, there's wind, there's solar,
Yeah.
and there's opportunities for nuclear.
Yeah.
Nuclear, you can do private-public partnerships,
Yeah,
or you can
But
governments
those
can
do have
get
so
loans.
much controversies.
They have controversies, but they have controversies everywhere. But
Yeah.
then that's
It's
unfortunately
not
it's it's not. What do you first fix leadership, then invest in these big projects, or do you invest in these big projects knowing they'll have all these challenges?
Okay.
So
Okay, sure. So
that's more for me. That's the challenge around, like some of the challenges you've mentioned.
Yeah.
To me, they're actually opportunities.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, they are. Okay, so like I went to like Magadi this previous week,
Yeah.
and I spoke to so many people.
Yeah.
They don't have water at all.
Yeah.
And so like when they don't have water,
Yeah.
there's a certain, I can say, company, Tata,
Yeah.
that now simply does the mining.
Yeah.
And so like when I was speaking to like this particular person,
Yeah.
the person said, our previous fathers, they were now lied to, because they were told, oh, we'll simply now do this, we can now give him water. Yeah, so like it's the same thing to say, if we fix now leadership first, then we focus on this. Yeah, because like at the end of the day, like we might be selling like ourselves to the now, I can say now, highest bidder. Yeah, because like for them, they're simply in business. Whether we suffer, whether it's painful, like for them it's not like a concern, like for them purely. Yeah, then if you consider, like in Kenya, particularly, like it's a very, very clean country in terms of like the way we consume our now energy. Like we don't burn fossil fuels.
Yeah.
Yet the people, then the people from the now west, they come with these particular policies, yet they themselves burn fossil fuels so much. If you look at this particular map, you will see China, USA, like burning fossil fuels at a rate that is like not even comprehensible to the, like now to me now and you. Yeah, so like it's simply saying, like we can start with this particular now approach.
Yeah.
Then we now go to like this part, to like now this particular path, because like it's just the now, like we must simply do some things now. We can't wait for now 2035.
But you see, for example, for power, the thing that Kenya is, I'd say our biggest challenge for power has been its distribution and how much power we are producing. But already over 90% of our grid is renewable energy. So now that's why you look at like a place like Olkaria for the geothermal power, where you can produce, is it a megawatt or a gigawatt worth of power? And now you're like, that's a good place to have these data centers where they won't affect the distribution within our national grid.
Then I think I think Kenya is among the now largest producers of now geothermal power in the world. By the like I saw something like that. And like it's a very good statistic for us. But there's one thing, like about saying, like we do have this much power, but we still don't have like as much power as we now need. That's why like most of our factories like now produce things at a very expensive rate.
Because the cost of power is expensive in Kenya, but I think that goes back, the challenge with that, the planning to distribute power was done very poorly. I think you have wires, I think someone had told me that that they got information from someone within KPLC that there is enough electrical wire in Kenya that's distributing power from KPLC to go around the circumference of the Earth, one circumference. And I was like, we're such a small country. If you look at sizes of countries, there are a lot of countries that are physically bigger than Kenya. And you look at the certain places where obviously we're not putting any power because it's not in our interest, or the landscape doesn't allow for it. So you can see there's always a planning issue, I think, not just Kenya, but Africa. But as a country develops, you expect planning issues. I think what best is you try and tame them, because no one gets anything right at the first attempt.
Okay, but like when you talk about like where power is now produced, via like where it's supposed to go, like do you think there's supposed to be some form of decentralization in terms of power?
Yeah, it has to be there. You can't have a single source situated in
the Fox Dam.
Yeah, so that's why we like, okay, let's do geothermal, let's do wind and solar. And you're doing wind and solar. If you're going to do wind and solar, I think you do them in areas where, one, there's a lot of wind and a lot of solar, and then
space also.
They're not commercial areas. They're not areas. They're not industries. You can't run solar, even like data centers in Kenya. What they're doing currently is they're now putting up solar anywhere around where they have the space. They're putting up solar panels. And they're not using that to power the data center. They're using that to power the offices around the data center. The light bulbs, the kitchens in the office, where people are going to charge their devices who work at the data center. But the data center is still primarily run by our national grid. Because you'd need a huge solar farm. And there's no space, at least close enough to them.
Okay, like when you talk about solar, like I think Musk said one thing, like as much as there's the problem of now distribution, there's the problem of also now storage.
Storage is actually the biggest issue.
The biggest issue. Batteries are a very big problem. Because like you can produce your power in, like, let's say now during the day. Then because at night, because there's no solar, now you must now look for an alternative, basically. But there's another method that I saw, which is called CSP. Like, which was a very different approach. So like basically they do have like a very large tower, like which has I think it was sodium chloride or something. Then they have some very big now mirrors somewhere. So like what happens, this particular now mirrors, they are pointed to like this particular tower. Then when these mirrors get some now light, they can now reflect that particular heat. Because it's light, they now come heated. That heat converts that particular sodium chloride into steam. And then now when it's now steam, like it spins up some turbines. Because like for power, like what so many people don't know, like it's simply spinning up turbines. Like when you now see the dams, like something just has to spin. So like I think power is a big, power is a very big factor, and we must not overlook it. Because like I saw, they said like for ChatGPT to now generate like a single now image for you, it takes the same amount of power that you take to now, I think now charge your phone.
Maybe it's gone down. I remember some of the statistics. I don't remember them top of my head, but prompting is quite power intensive. So I think and I think you can see the push from OpenAI and Microsoft bought the 3 Mile nuclear facility, and they are renaming it, and they want to start it up for nuclear power. OpenAI has been going to around the White House trying to discuss setting up, I think, 6 nuclear power data centers for the US. The data center push for artificial intelligence is, yes, we may build the models, we need the infrastructure to run them. We can't, the grid, all grids currently can't sustain. So we need we need new grids, or we need an alternate source of power, and it has to be renewable.
Then I think some Altman was talking about nuclear fission. I think they're trying to now replicate the sun, basically. And he said that there are some things that will come out in the next following years. And just talking about him, like what is your opinion on Sam now Altman? He's a very controversial figure in some ways.
I think he's very ambitious, very bold, very spoken. I think you need to have... There are times when he speaks, and I do admire the idea that I will say this and put it out in the world, and I will try to get there. If it doesn't work, we'll have made some progress elsewhere. So it reminds me of something that I liked. I've always liked from a Kanye West song when it comes to your ambitions and what you set your life to. And Kanye West once rapped and he said, "Aim for the stars. When you fall, you land on the clouds." So I've always been like, okay, someone wants to do 6. Maybe he'll do 2. Maybe those 2 will be sufficient for some time. Will be significant. But for him as an individual, I know he's good at raising funds for his companies. He's good at seeing opportunity. He's very experimental. I'd also think I wouldn't know, but I think he has a higher risk appetite when it comes to the technologies and what we should do with them. He's very open to experimenting, seeing the risk, and then quickly either mitigating the risk or shutting down what's existing. So that's just my personal opinion from what I've seen of him on the internet.
Because so many Musk fanboys, like they are saying, okay, like you guy, you come, you said the company is a non-profit, get some money, then now you come and say that it's a for-profit company. So like there's some form of controversy with him and saying, okay, like, hey, just said that you want some money from this, just be open from the word go.
But then who doesn't have? Elon Musk has his fair share of controversy. So does Sam Altman in maybe some of the decisions around the issue. I think it was in November when he was fired, and right now, just recently, Mira has left. She's left.
Brockman is on leave. Then also now the guy, Ilya
had left. So when you look at it, actually there's a very interesting photo of the 4 of the original 4, and now it's only Sam Altman left. And I remember a friend of mine today morning we were actually chatting about that on a video call. And then he pointed out to me right away, he's like, the order in which they are sat closest to the camera is the order in which they left. I was like, was it foreshadowing or it's just a nice coincidence? So it was entertaining to see that. But I think because right now we're at sort of an AI arms race, I think everybody has acknowledged it. I think governments are acknowledging it, and now governments are, if we cannot build the AI, how can it serve us if we need to get it from elsewhere? And that's why maybe you see like Africa and a lot of countries who are not actively developing large-scale AI projects are considering policies, strategies, and regulation around it. Because then again, there's also, for me, I feel there's a need for Africa to protect itself. Not just from the excessive consumption of artificial intelligence from the north, but from being a data colony to because now AI superpowers will turn Africa into a data colony. We already, quote unquote, sort of where everyone is coming for their natural resources, people are going to come for data. Because the notion that there is no data in Africa, I don't believe that. I think we have a accessibility and findability problem with data. So the findability is, the data is there, we just don't know where it is. There are people who store data in stories, in culture, in songs and dance. So you need to go and figure it out. So you need to go and find it. Then the accessibility challenge is that data, can you, once you find it and you know the data is here or it's there, can you access it in terms of, do you have the right to take it and use it? So Africa for me has a lot of data. You look at the fact that Twitter can be brought down by Nigerians or Kenyans because of the traffic and our involvement in there, how we get things to trend globally. So there's a lot of data. Even the smartphone penetration isn't that much, but it's growing. And Africa will have the youngest population.
By 2050, I think
in about 28 years. It's now about
it will be very now interesting times. Okay, so like for us at Proxima, basically, like the mission is to serve, first of all, Kenya. Make sure that whatever we build can serve Kenya in a very, very efficient way. Then of course, like it's now purely innovation. Because myself, like I live by 2 principles. which is a vertical integration.
Yeah.
Basically, whatever you can do, like whatever someone can now do for you, which is very essential for your own now, for your own now company.
Yeah.
Bring it now internally.
Okay.
And then the second one is first principles thinking.
Yeah.
Solving unique problems in a very now unique way.
Yeah.
So like it's basically not conforming to the way things are done. Yeah, because like I think for myself, to be honest, when I look at the landscape of Kenya, based on the way capital is now distributed, Safaricom should be like way ahead in terms of artificial intelligence. Safaricom does have the capital. They can attract the best now talent. They can manipulate government policies.
Well, I'd say yes and no. Yeah. So maybe some counterpoints to that is Safaricom has the potential. Yeah. Yes, the potential is there. Yeah. How do they achieve that potential? They themselves need a customer that's just almost as big as them as an enterprise in almost every sector, just for them to have, you see, for them to be sustainable. Yeah. If everybody just moves from M-Pesa, or you see, they don't have large enterprises that pay up huge bills to them. Yeah. They have a high penetration within the consumer industry. Yeah. They also require the enterprise. They need leading companies that can be as big as them. Yeah. So they need most of the banks to be, like the top 5, top 10 banks to be their customers. Yeah. They need to go to the agriculture sector, capture that sector, tourism, capture that sector, and not just in payments, but in as many services as they have as possible. And they also need these companies, not just in their current size. Yeah. They need these companies to be billion-dollar companies. Oh, so this, because then now there's more capital going around and there's more sustainability for them. Okay. They do have, I know they are working on their own things around artificial intelligence and their data work, and that's good for them. Yeah. When it comes to influencing government policy, I don't know how that's done. I know how lobbying is done in the US. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, sure. I don't know what Safaricom lobbies for in Kenya. Okay, sure. So like when I was like just to now basically now counter your point. Yeah. Like when Starlink came to Kenya. Yeah. Which was the first company to say we are supposed to go to say, okay, like this company should be now regulated. Not really regulated. I think because when Starlink came, they followed all the regulatory protocols. They talked to CA. I think they talked to every required regulator. Communications Authority, that's CA. There's another 2 or 1 that they talked to. And they did everything by the book. Yeah. They just, and even the product when it came, it had a very high capital cost. Meaning, I think you are paying upwards of 30,000 for the device itself. It was 45,000. Yeah. But then the mini is, I think, 25 to 27,000. Yeah. And now when they switched it from a capital cost to an operating cost, where you get the device with a small upfront fee, and then your monthly package also contributes to you paying to own the device, so that you can offset that capital cost, which is a good model. Yeah. And you see, for example, the market they are serving is a lot different from Safaricom. I think initially what Safaricom wanted to do was get into business with them to be a reseller. I think Safaricom had seen the opportunity of, we have Safaricom shops, agents, and all of those. Yeah. We want to be the reseller because of our network. Yeah, so I think they wanted to be the reseller and capture that market. Yeah, yeah. Starlink maybe thought differently and said, anywhere where people can sell, let it be sold there. So you find it in supermarkets. Yeah, yeah. So for me, I don't think it was, because even if you look at what Safaricom is serving, if you look at their fiber network, it serves businesses and a lot of the cities in the country. Okay, sure. Okay, so Starlink is more, you actually, from this very building at your office, if you guys are going to put up a Starlink, you can't put it up at the roof. Yeah. And not everybody within this building can have a Starlink router. Yeah, sure. Okay, so like just to build up on that, because like for ourselves, like we do have a Safaricom now network, but to be honest, like I'm thinking about shifting to now Starlink. Yeah, basically because like of the like you can simply carry like our own now device, go somewhere,
then still do some things. Then I just wanted to counter like one of the points that you said, when you said that Safaricom might now require some big billion-dollar companies. If you look at Microsoft, Apple, Nvidia, like if you look at like where they now are as companies, and where now OpenAI now pays as a company, like it's fairly small.
Not really. OpenAI is a catalyst to the AI hype. So a good example.
Okay. But if you compare the $3 trillion valuation of, let's say now Apple, compared to now OpenAI, like it's some now factor small. So like I think for Safaricom, like most of the models that you now consume, just the same way Meta might come up with the one now open source models, Llama 1, 2, 3. Like Safaricom can do some things which are now Kenyan built. They do have some data on our own now culture, some data on our own stuff here. Because like I don't think I've seen something from Safaricom that is extremely major. Because like I met someone from Safaricom. I think it was something like last year but one. And then I was speaking to him, and he's in the artificial intelligence sector. The guy said, okay, like for for them, what they do based on the data that they have, like they don't even perform now real time now inference for the better part of the time. You see. That's why when you go to buy bundles, when you go to buy some things, like you can buy the same, you can get the same package that you had, like a couple now days ago. Like you will now still have the same package, like it's not being updated. Then just as I'm speaking to him, I posed him like a question, like what do you foresee as the future of artificial intelligence in Kenya? The guy says we'll be like now importing most of it. Then like what he said, we need some now regulation on this particular topic. And I'm like regulating like what is not even there basically.
Exactly. Regulation is wrong. I believe as we are not a heavy producer. So we don't need regulation.
We need facilitation.
We need to encourage the development. So and you can achieve that through an AI strategy or an AI policy. But regulation then inhibits the innovation. And if I can go back to the Safaricom point, I mean the Nvidia point. So why Safaricom needs these big companies is the same way Nvidia was primarily making GPUs for video games. And then the GPUs started being used for Bitcoin mining and crypto mining. Then when they realized, with parallel processing on GPUs, we can train AI models at scale. And now started building is it the A series or the H series?
I think now there is. There's one that came out,
first one,
Blackwell. And then the one that is now commonly, like Blackwell is supposed to come out in 2025.
So if you look at...
then now it's now Hopper.
So if you look at
H1, it's H100.
The H100. So when they first did the A100s, as a company, they grew bigger because their customers, who are the top clients in the field. Microsoft came in, Oracle came in.
Even Meta.
Meta, I think they have a budget of about 12 billion to spend on GPUs and AI. So you can see these companies have pushed Nvidia to $1 trillion valuation. I think they're playing big. I think if it's not the largest, I think it's the second largest company. It's in the top 3. Apple, Microsoft, Nvidia. So Nvidia, without those clients, wouldn't be there. So for Safaricom to have that impact, it obviously needs these sectoral players who can grow to a certain huge scale.
Okay, but then like what so many people don't know, because for Nvidia, like it's because of now CUDA. Like it's because of basically now CUDA. Because of that particular software that can now compile large language models. So like I saw this post on Twitter that they are trying to find like a better way for them to compile large language models. And I think if you now look at the big companies, Apple, they do have their own now these particular chips, M1, M2, M3 series. Yeah, then you do have now Tesla. Musk said that they are coming up with their own chips. And then you do have now Meta, like they do have the same. Microsoft. Yeah, so like at some point, these particular companies will now get their own chips. Just the same way, if you look at the trajectory, basically, at some point, there was a point when now Apple depended on now Intel for their chips so much. Yeah, so like whatever they were now building, like it was purely focused on what the chips could do. But then when they came with their own chips, which was the like this new particular architecture, I think it's 64 by this particular company, Qualcomm. So like they are now able to make the systems better. But if you look at what powered NVIDIA for the best part, it was me, you, the people who bought these particular machines at first because they wanted to play this particular video game. And at some point, it must, like now it might still be the same because like you do have so many companies. There's this particular company that builds in parallel AMD, and then you have also Intel trying to now come up with their own chips. So like I think like for them to start, okay, like for Safaricom in particular, like they should empower some small companies that want to build some things by something like even like our own data center.
So the question I'd ask you is, does Safaricom even have the available compute so that they can give it to these companies? Because compute is very expensive,
it's expensive,
and it's in short supply. And the short supply has driven prices extremely high. So you can see how, while as you ideate, you can see the simplicity of it, but unfortunately the kind of the markets we live in won't do us any favors. The fact that all these companies are building their own chips, their own architectures, is they've invested in a lot of R&D themselves, and they come up with IP, billions. And they want to protect their IP. So NVIDIA will say, well, for you to get optimum performance, you have to use CUDA when you use our hardware, our chips. So the biggest challenge for all these companies becomes open source. And I think that's where Meta has seen something that is a wild card which they're going to, and it's a long-term wild card.
Okay, like you see for Meta, okay, like I saw this particular post, like for Meta themselves, like from day one, Meta has been sort of like building things for people to consume for free. If you look at Facebook, if you look at Instagram, WhatsApp, like it's free. So like for them, like it's simply now continuing with their own now philosophy.
It was free. I'd say it's free to. There's no truly free. It's free to consumers.
Free to won't pay
to consumers, but advertisers and people who need to promote content would pay.
Then, like when you talk about Safaricom, okay, like for myself, I think like even before we start talking about like the way we are supposed to now do these particular things, before we start talking about the chips, like whether they do have now enough compute, like the intention must be there from the word go. Because like when you do have the intention, because like it's not somewhere that we want to now get to tomorrow, but basically like we want to build like a sustainable now ecosystem for the foreseeable future. If you now look at China, like at some point China was far behind. Like far behind. Like if you compare them to these modern now countries, like they were now nowhere to be seen. But because of the now intention, like China is a very big player. That's why they are a very big threat to the Western world.